Christine's mic levels are different, so I separate
She's got that ASMR going on.
She's just naturally
She's naturally
quiet.
has a softer voice than you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so long since I was young that I don't remember
It's been so long since I was young.
Well, so what I mean is that, you know, I did 17 years in the army, you know, and there you have to be loud, and I don't just mean yelling, you know, at people, you get down, private. No, I'm, you know, yelling, you know, hey, cover me while I move.
Right.
I've got you
You have
covered.
to communicate.
Fire. Yeah, and often you're communicating over distance with lots of background noise, and I also did stage, so I
Wow, that's
normally
an
just
interesting combination.
project.
How many army people were theater kids too?
More than you would
Really?
imagine, but that's my generation versus what you and I think of as soldiers, which was boomers, you know, like,
True.
you
True.
know,
So
because that's what I grew up.
you experienced the actual army. I just experienced what I saw in Full Metal Jacket, is what I'm getting at.
There you go, and that was the Marine Corps.
Yeah, definitely. The military. The military.
Yeah. The Marines are so freaking thirsty for attention. The army, we just
They're so thirsty for attention.
they are. The army, we do all sorts of badass stuff, but we're too busy actually doing it to make movies about it.
You know,
So,
it's very possible that y'all can just y'all have the same mission, defending your country. So it's like no need to drag them down.
oh no, we have to. And you know what? I realized that I started recording this, and I'm going to end up cutting it down as a cold open, because AVR does cold opens, and I realized I forgot to put the One Piece red picture. Yeah, you know what, Jammer? I think that'll work here. You tell me what you think. Go back to 3. I think that'll work here on the left.
I like it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
All right, cool. All right, now that we've got the poster situation figured out, I think we can actually start the show. So hello everybody, welcome to the Anime-Versal Reviews podcast here on the GenreVerse podcast network and YouTube channel. Wherever you get your podcast from, follow us, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button. Thanks to all 901 of you that are subscribed as of right now. We really do appreciate it. Check out the website lrmonline.com for all other entertainment news, needs, and opinions, including anime podcasts, celebrity interviews, and more. It's a special episode. We're doing a spoiler-free review for One Piece Film Red, and extra special because I've got a super One Piece fan, a former One Piece podcaster, as well as the one of the co-hosts of Breaking Geek Radio and former editor-in-chief of LRMonline.com, Joseph Jammer Medina. You got to get less accolades.
I know.
Man.
I've lived my life.
You
I was like,
author. I forgot that.
I have to I'm just that impressive of a guy. But in all seriousness, yeah. I'm looking at myself. If you're looking at me, you're like, who the is this guy? Or sorry, I probably shouldn't swear. And what's up with
no F-bombs on this one. We try to monetize as soon as we can. So
fair enough.
We're at 901. So
yeah, I'm coming right at you from COVID Central. So if my voice is weird, if I have to cough into your ear, or if I have to take a lozenge, I'm just gonna do it. Because I'm in the midst of fighting super COVID at this point, and it's not fun. So forgive me, but I'm super excited. One Piece Film Red was like a nice, bright, shining moment in the midst of hell this weekend. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome to hear. So I was invited by Crunchyroll to go watch this film's dub premiere, and we're going to be talking about this from the dub perspective, ladies and gentlemen. And I didn't know what I was getting into. So personally, Jammer hounded me for the longest time to watch One Piece.
To read One Piece.
There
you go. No offense to anyone. I don't recommend the anime to anybody because it's so hit or miss, and also it drags things out, and it's. All right, this is my personal pet peeve with the medium of anime that's adapted from shonen manga. generally speaking. They don't adapt sensibilities. In comics and in manga, you can get away with saying things because a lot of times it's harder to portray things that are in motion. So maybe you have a character comment on it. Whereas in anime, they have character do something and then comment that they did something when it's completely unnecessary. And One Piece is really bad at that and continues to be bad at that, despite the animation currently being amazing in the current run. But my point is, I just always recommend the manga.
Yeah, and I had seen episodes, old dubs of One Piece, and I was never a big fan of the animation style to start with, so I never really gave it its fair chance, if that makes sense, because it was just something not visually pleasing. But I did start reading it, and of course I didn't stick with it. Sorry, but I did start reading. I got about 30 chapters in, and absolutely like the anime more, or excuse me, the manga more than the anime.
Okay. I was about to say, who are you? You're one.
I definitely liked the manga more. I think the artwork works real well for it, and it's a daunting thought to try to catch up or even read, and I think that might be one thing that turns a lot of people off from even trying. But I do every now and then pick up the Shonen app again and read through it. But anyways, world premiere, what I went and did. So I knew what I was getting into as far as what One Piece is, a bit of how it plays out, the kind of tone and style of the series. But I'm not a musical guy, and this is a musical, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not seen this, 100 like Disney level, if not maybe even one extra song.
It's not Disney level, or I guess Disney level in terms of the number of songs.
Yes,
but in terms of the style,
no,
not
completely different in style. Just number of songs, and still does it with the lyrics fitting the scene, the lyrics following part of the story. They feed into it similar, not necessarily as sing-songing about washing dishes and
it's
Cinderella,
closer to something like Symphogear, if you're familiar with that, or if anyone else is familiar with that. I know there's a more recent series. The one I'm talking about, I think, came from like 2012 or 2011 or something. And then that is a series where a girl she basically sings, and as she sing fights. It's basically kind of like that.
So I see the movie, and I'm trying to absorb it and think of things the best that I can. And I will say that the animation, the 2D animation especially, looks great. It looked really good on a big screen. Like, this looked really good on a big screen. I was never bored by the film, but I was definitely not necessarily enjoying every aspect as some others, because again, musical, not my thing. I did love one big important thing here, though, is that they kept the Japanese lyrics. So you've got the English voice actress, and even in Japan, the voice actress for the character was different than the singing the vocals, which was done by Otto, the artist Otto. And I forget the Japanese VA's name, but I really appreciated that, because coming at it from a musician standpoint, and I've had this conversation with Jammer before and others, music
about it
is
in the Star Wars Legends, not Legends, what's it called?
Visions. Yep.
Visions, yeah.
Because the Tatooine Rhapsody is 1,000 times better if you watch it in Japanese, and that's because songs, whether people like it or not, as artful as music is, it is still a very mathematic thing. And as you build a song, layering in all the different instruments, and when you get to vocals are part of the instrument. They are an instrument in and of themselves, and the way that you write lyrics and sing them for a song, if you localize them, that's from English to something else or something to English, it does change it. And I know a lot of people focus more on being able to understand the lyrics, even if they don't quite translate super well. A lot of people point out was it Hikara Utada, the lady that or they that did the Kingdom Hearts, because last time I think I read that they use they them now. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But the Kingdom Hearts lyrics, even though they're a little bit wonky, many people find they just like hearing what they know better. But for me, completely changes the songs. If you listen to Radwimp's Zen Zen Zensei from Your Name in Japanese, and then these are the, this is the band that wrote it, sung it, played it, and then you listen to it in English, it sounds off. So I really appreciated that aspect.
And it makes it easier because if you are, well, no, that's not applicable. That's not applicable. Never mind. Go ahead. I was gonna say something else.
So it was great. It was a fun experience overall. The movie itself is enjoyable. Like I said, I was never really bored. It's just not necessarily my cup of tea. There are things to enjoy. I did find several CGI sequences to be overwhelming with the CGI, especially the movement, just way too much movement. Getting in with the really cool sweeping shots and stuff. Sometimes they can make it work and sometimes they can't. Maybe it was the size of the screen. I don't know. But overall, if I think of this as in the art, the style, pacing, what they executed, and really try to separate my own displeasure with certain aspects that are just personal, right? I think I could easily give this a B-. I think if I really enjoyed the musical aspects more, or if maybe they had cut down some of the CGI use, I think maybe it would be able to push up to a B. But I found it relatively enjoyable, and now I'm super excited to hear what you thought, man.
So I have a bunch of preamble to give, first of all.
Sure, go ahead.
With regards to what this movie is in the grand scheme of One Piece, it's a non-canon movie. There's no logical place that this could take place in the story, because Luffy is referred to as the Fifth Emperor.
Fifth Emperor. And which you said you didn't know if he would be one or not.
No, not quite. Because in between, I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, listeners or viewers or whatever, however you're consuming this, he gets designated Fifth Emperor right after Dressrosa as an unofficial Fifth Emperor. However, after Wano, they've reduced the emperors, and now he's one of the 4 emperors. But so Jinbei,
two of them are killed or something. Jinbei hasn't joined the crew until officially in the midst of the arc after which he's named the 4th emperor. So it doesn't quite match up. So there's no real logical way this could have fallen into the timeline, because he first actually set sail with the crew after the latest completed arc of the story. So if you're wondering if it's canon, or even if it has canon stuff, not really. So I just want to give that preamble there. Also, in terms of what this movie is, so these are unique movies in that, like a lot of shonen series, you had, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, you had a lot of crappy movies early on. Mm-hmm. There were 9 movies that were kind of made with that in mind. They weren't all bad. There were some really good ones. Movie 6 is a big one that everyone loves. That was directed by Mamoru Hosoda, who directed The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, as well as Summer Wars and Wolf Children, among others. And then you had movie 9, which is a retelling of Chopper's arc in the series. I thought that was relatively effective. But things really took a turn for the better with the 10th movie, which was One Piece Film's Strong World. And that was when Oda became... Ichiro Oda, the author, became really intimately involved with the process, came up with the concept, the story, and kind of signed off on things. And since then, pretty much every main big One Piece movie, you have Strong World, Film Z, Gold, Stampede, and now Red, that have really kind of a better DNA of the series embedded in it. Also, he takes pains, he being Oda, to sort of incorporate canon elements, even if it's not fully canon. Like One Piece, Film Strong World, and Z, I think can be considered canon, actual canon. I don't know about Gold or Stampede. But anyways,
this is kind of like a whole different era of movies. So it's a higher quality than those earlier,
Mhm.
most of those earlier 9 movies. But is it the best of the ones that have come so far since Oda has gotten involved? That's the question that I had going into it. And I will say this, it takes me a long time to get to there. It's a very, very unique story. I knew there would be musical elements.
Mhm.
I did not realize how much it would be ingrained in the story and how much it would be ingrained in uh, the way Uta, a new character in the story, a new main character in the story, and the way she presents herself. Yeah, she's a singer, she's a pop singer, she wants music to heal the world, da 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 da. That's great, but it really just kind of leans into how she frankly fights with it. You know, it's no secret that there's devil fruit abilities, and this kind of ties into her devil fruit abilities, and it's a really cool thing. So if you're a fan of musicals, it's super awesome. This is the closest I've ever seen an anime to a musical. I remember about a decade ago, I was thinking, man, are there any anime musicals?
Well,
I don't know if there are.
Belle tried to be, but
It
it
was
didn't
not.
execute it very well at all.
Yeah.
The Beauty and the Beast aspect almost felt like an afterthought just for that one big scene, and then
And this was better than that, I think, and as making it a musical.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, I remember I asked on my followers on Twitter, I was like, hey, so like, are there any anime musicals? And then people would be like, what about the Idol Master? And I'm like, no, I don't want like performances. I want
Right.
like musical ingrained into the story.
right,
And this is kind of splitting the difference between what you said, kind of like the Disney stuff,
yeah.
and then
Singing about
the
washing
performances.
dishes, and
So
then,
it's kind of
yeah.
like this. It's kind of a mix between them in a really cool way. So it's really unique. And as I was watching it, I was like, huh, I've never seen anything like this. Really, Simple Gear is the closest thing, and for that alone, I think this movie should get a lot of kudos because it's just fun to watch. Great animation, especially near the end. Near the end, it was like, what's it called? Stimulation overload, sensory
Yeah.
overload, sensory overload. I felt like I was
Lots of
watching.
characters on screen. It's like an in-game level of event.
It felt like
legitimately,
I was watching Madoka Magica. Frankly,
Nice.
that's kind of how crazy it got visually, which is great in a series like One Piece because I know like a decade ago I never would have thought the animation is so beautiful because
Yeah,
One Piece
right.
wasn't known for great animation until relatively recently. So yeah, I think I enjoyed that aspect very much. Still kind of clunky. The beginnings of these movies are always really awkward, always clunky. Like when you have at the beginning those people, you know, those video clips of people saying pirates are the worst. I hate
Yeah.
pirates. Da 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 da. It's just like, okay, it's so contrived. It's so stilted. It's so over-explainy. It's lazy, frankly, the way they do that. It's like I get it. You could have done this in a way that wasn't just people saying pirates are the worst. They killed my parents. I hate pirates. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, I don't need that. It also has the shonen problem that I have in that. Well, actually, I'm gonna go back to another problem having to do with stilted stuff. The one thing I also
we
don't.
still have a spoiler.
Oh no, this
filled
isn't.
review
This isn't.
later.
This is all spoiler free. That's why when you said I don't know if I could talk more than 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, trust me, I can talk spoiler free.
Oh, I know you can.
But and you can let me know how you felt about this. The first 10 minutes or so, when they're kind of reintroducing the rest of the Straw Hats, it's like it almost just feels obligatory. It's like, oh, we have these canned responses from all the characters, or these canned sort of ways. It's like, oh, Luffy's gonna eat meat. Chopper is gonna fanboy over something. And freaking what's his name? Zoro is gonna like, or excuse me, Sanji's gonna he's gonna fall head over heels in love for Uta, and then Zoro's gonna make a comment about, so it's like, oh, just make some comment against him. It's like you kind of know how each character is gonna say, and it's just like, got to get those little quick reactions in, those quick things in at the beginning, because that's what people like, and it just feels so contrived and fake.
It feels like so not every Dragon Ball movie does it, but there's certain ones that were like the big pushers where they were like, we're gonna get some new people to see this one, like someone's gonna jump in on this one, and so you'll get those like reintroductions. You think of recent ones like the first of Battle of the Gods did something similar where they try to reintroduce you to the little quirks and relationships between all the characters really fast, and it is awkward. I get it, though. They're wanting this to be potentially a gateway drug to One Piece, so to speak, and I can get that. See, that's why I do the awful thing of manual focus these days.
Well, I have a webcam, so I can't have manual focus.
So yeah, I get it. And definitely for fans that already know these characters, I can see where it would be even more frustrating. Like, let's get on with it.
Well, most people like it. Most people are like, oh, because even the One Piece manga right now, like they're like, I love the interactions, and to me, they just kind of feel increasingly like just, okay, let me go ahead and access my bank of Frankie reactions or Zoro interactions and just throw that into a chapter and see how that goes. So it's like, it feels increasingly phony, and in a movie where you're like kind of introducing and getting to feel their personalities, it feels that way. Also, this movie has a same shonen problem that every shonen movie adaptation has. Characters kind of just pop out of the woodwork, and you're just supposed to know who they are. No explanation really given. So from that perspective, we're not going to say who, but there's a lot of characters and a lot of different factions that pop in and out. Did you ever feel lost in like, am I supposed to know who that is?
I mean, at sometimes certain characters you can tell with their interactions with some of the Straw Hats, you're like, oh, okay, you're somewhat of more importance than, say, some of the bad guys. The, like, I don't want to call them generic, but less important in their, direct interactions. There's definitely times where I'm like, I wish I had a little bit more. That video you sent me yesterday filled in some blanks about a group that I was kind of like, why are they so interested in working with this other group? And then that video you showed me yesterday, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense now. Yeah, I mean, I get it. You're like I said, man, One Piece is daunting. I think that is the number one thing that throws people off and keeps them from getting into it, is just the sheer volume of it. Here on the GenreVerse and AVR, well, AVR Squared, actually, our reaction show, Christina and I are about to start the Fate series.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
in and of itself is daunting enough, and that's only 50 episodes in the first two things. Zero and Stay Night, I think, make up 50 some odd episodes, and then there's another, like, it's 100 some odd episodes if I'm not mistaken. I know there's additional content out there, but that's just like, oh god.
I did some subtitle work for Fate Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching that first episode and being like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. So, and I also know that I think I remember hearing that, like, it was episode 1. So me not knowing what's going on in episode 1, not a good sign. That apparently you do need to consume a lot of external content in order to understand what's happening. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've heard.
We'll see.
But yeah, anyways,
get subscribed to find out.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I think One Piece Film Red, to me, so far has been one of the more enjoyable One Piece movies to date. I can't say it really completely captures what One Piece feels like as a series. It definitely has sort of like an epic scope, but it's also simultaneously very, very isolated, which is in a really unique way. And I think that's a plus, because it's a unique thing to bring into the series that usually is just wide spanning, to condense it to, for the most part, one big location. And I think that's kind of cool. And yeah, I think it's if you're a fan of One Piece, definitely need to watch it. If you're a fan of these movies to date, it definitely holds its own, I'd say, in the last 5 movies. I still think Film Z might be a little bit better, but I'm still figuring that out, because I think Uta as arguably, one could say, the protagonist of the movie has more growth than Zed did in One Piece film Z, because he doesn't really have growth. He just does his mission thing. And I'm trying to think, so like, and for me, in order to be a successful, well-rounded movie, there needs to be a character arc. And this movie, I think, has a relatively strong character arc that is sort of telegraphed early on in a cool way and paid off, I think, fairly effectively. Not perfectly, but fairly effectively. And even though I have lots of problems with them just bringing characters into the woodwork unnecessarily, maybe just for fan service, it helps make it feel like a standalone, satisfying experience more than I think it needs to be. And certainly more than it would have been in a movie of this type 13 or 14 years ago. You know, these simply would not have gotten, because I know almost all those movies pre-2010 in just shonen, they don't feel standalone at all. It's just kind of an episode that's a little bit longer than an episode. So yeah, I think I give this a B+. A little bit clunky, has the anime-isms I don't particularly like. Great direction.
I like how we're fairly close to each other in grade. I think that speaks highly of my ability to look at subjective things as objective as possible.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, I'm thinking about, like, can a non-One Piece fan enjoy this?
Yes, I believe they can.
Like, did you genuinely enjoy it, or were you just kind of like, no, I should feel open about this? So, like, do you feel obligated to like it at all? No? Okay.
No, I didn't feel obligated. I mean, I was even asked by a Crunchyroll executive what I thought, and you know me, I don't like to lie unless I am upfront with you that I'm lying and some putting on a skit, an actor, something like that. I don't like to fake things, you know. So I spoke on the things that I really did thoroughly enjoy. Like I said, it was great to see this on a big screen. Those of you that are lucky enough to have a big 65-inch screen, I highly suggest you crank up your sound bar or surround sound, put that screen right in front of you, and get that optimal distance. Screw your family, just you right in front of it. If you're the only one that likes it, it's a treat to see. Other than some clunky CGI in certain,
but that's just anime
parts. But that's anime these days.
Yeah.
Could I possibly enjoy it as much as you without all of that? No, I don't think I could. Others though, maybe. But even someone like me with very, very little, even someone with less, if this is your first time, as long as you're not put off by musicals, and especially if you like musical aspects to things, I think that'll even make it to where someone could enjoy it more than I did. But I did. There's legitimate, like I said, I was never bored. I just can't sing the praises that some want, because it's not necessarily my cup of tea, which I think some people, and this is more like a daily cup of genre conversation, but I think some people, when they review movies, they look too much for their personal, and that's part of it. Your personal enjoyment is part of it, because you gotta be able to enjoy a movie. But I don't think enough people can compartmentalize animation or cinematography, music and sound design, acting. You know what I'm saying? And look at all these, like I said, relatively objective things that you can look. Is the sound design good? Do you hear the sounds appropriately? Is the flow, you know, there are things that you can look at and use that as your basis, and then look at, well, how did I enjoy it as a non-fan? What did the crowd around me think in the theater? So I try to look at all of that when I'm grading something like this. And I wish more people would, versus it's an A+ if I liked it and it's a C if I didn't. And it's like, that's not quite what you're supposed to do. Your enjoyment's a bit of it. But I think
there's things I mostly agree, but I think there's a caveat there where if you're going like, it's an A if I love it, it's a C if I think it's okay, or if I don't like it, if you're acknowledging your biases going into it, or if you're aware of them, that's one thing.
That's completely fair.
Yeah, like because that's the
But
thing.
if
Is,
you're
like,
just,
I don't think you can be
it's
completely
good or bad
objective
from one or
going.
the other.
You can't be
Yeah.
completely objective going into anything. I think recognizing that
No.
you can't be completely objective is there. It's like,
Absolutely.
here are my biases. Based on those biases, here's what I think. Also, I could see this other perspective based on some more objective things.
And also putting it in context of genre, whether you're talking about an anime, Disney CGI movie versus Disney traditional, whether you're talking horror or drama, whatever you're talking about, being able to pick a similar thing and put it here and say, how does this stand up to that? And that's what I kind of did with this. I think I even mentioned to you, I was like, this feels like it felt like a Pokemon movie type event. They did the same similar thing with Pokemon. It's very big. It's made for the big screen. The shots are made for the big screen. You have the wonky character introductions. It had very similar things. And I mean, when I was a kid, I freaking loved the Pokemon movie.
I mean, that's the formula for shonen movie. Like a shonen movie adaptations. Like you go and you have the wonky character introductions, and then the plot just gets started.
I have things to compare it to, and like I said, I think easily walking out of that theater, I have no problem saying B-. I think change a few things, or if me personally, I was a bit different, I could easily see it being a solid B. No problem.
I mean, I could see this movie being 15 minutes longer and find a way to effectively introduce elements in a better way. And that would do a couple of things. I think that would trim down some of the fights, especially at the tail end a bit, because I think those went on real long. And then space things out at the beginning so that we have more natural introductions to everybody. And frankly, maybe just not really feel the need to have each character have their moment, because it just didn't contribute to the story. Sometimes you got nothing to say. Robin, if you're not important to the story, maybe you don't need to be introduced this movie that much. Maybe you can kind of just linger in the background. I don't know. Maybe it's a controversial opinion. I get why you wouldn't want to do that, but for a stronger storytelling perspective, that's kind of how I feel. But I will say also, you mentioned a bit ago at this point how beautiful it was. I will say kudos to the studio for the screener that they sent. Pristine, gorgeous stream that I was sent. Link. And I know there's definitely points in the end where I felt like a freaking elementary or middle schooler, where I just sitting with my slack-jawed mouth kind of going like looking at the screen, because I'm just like, oh my god, all the pretty colors, and just like I said, the sensory overload. It was crazy, and it was just really cool to watch. Indeed.
Well, guys, we've exhausted the spoiler-free aspect, I think, and looking at the list of things we're supposed to avoid here from Crunchyroll. I think we did a good job. If you are interested in hearing the spoilers after the film hits this weekend, come back. Jammer and I are about to teleport through time a few days and talk spoilers for you guys. So get subscribed, of course, here on the GenreVerse YouTube channel and podcast network, wherever you get your podcasts from. Jammer, did you have any, before I finish closing out, did you have any other spoiler-free things that you wanted to throw out?
One question for
Sure.
you. Does this make you want to read One Piece again? Yeah, I'll start with that one. Does this make you want to continue reading One Piece?
No more or less than before. So I still like to pick it up every now and then. Reading is very hard on me. I don't know why, and I do a lot of it for the anime stuff as is, because we watch most of our anime on in subtitle, because we're doing seasonal things. Which is why if we ever do an old series, if no one tells us that the dub is awful, we will watch the dub, because, well, why not? It's not 2002. It's not 1992. Dubs have gotten really, really good these days. Not just in quality of scripts, which are almost exactly the same as the subscripts these days. Almost, not always. Actors like to throw in their own little flares here and there. But even in the style, I'm a huge Dr. Stone fan, and if you listen to the dub actors, they are so close in emulating so much of the tone and mannerisms of the Japanese voice actors. It's ridiculous. So,
And I feel like a lot of the
yeah.
bias generally comes from the fact that we don't speak Japanese, so we can't tell whether or not they're overacting as much. But they are. But they are.
I can tell.
I can tell now, as someone who has been watching
uh,
anime for 25 years. Yeah, they
30.
are.
30.
30.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
God.
30. Almost 30 years at this point. Yeah.
I've been watching it for I mean, God. So
For me, I think I've been regularly watching since '97.
So I was watching anime without knowing it when I was like 5 and 6 years old. So that's 32, 33, almost 34 years ago now. Because you think
Damn.
Voltron, Robotech, things like that. When I first started watching anime for like real and knew it, it was thanks to a sleepover where I saw Ninja Scroll.
Oh wow. How old were you?
Dragon Ball Tree of Might, 96, so I was 11. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Tree of Might from Dragon Ball, Ninja Scroll, and Street Fighter 2. Those are the 3 anime we watched.
Tree of Might sucks.
I don't know. I thought.
I mean,
it was
it's
cool
basically,
back then.
speaking of shonen anime movies, it's not great.
From there, it was off to the races. You know, it was anime rentals from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video. It was my friends' copies of Tenchi Muyo OVA, which was my intro to the harem anime. And yeah, so whenever someone wants to test my anime it's like, hold on, bud.
Hang on.
I'm pretty old, and I was an army brat with friends from all over the country and all over the world. Trust me, I've been at it for a while. But yeah, dubs and subs, they are what they are.
Before you get, because I have one follow-up question. So you mentioned about you don't want to read it any more or less than prior.
Right.
What do you feel like this movie, as a non-fan, does it seem like representative of what One Piece is to you?
From what I've seen and read already, I think it is a relatively decent snapshot of it. It shows, without spoilers, there are definite things that show how silly it can get, and there's moments that show how serious it can be. There's a lot of character moments that, you know, show you what you can kind of expect from the Straw Hats and their cohorts and antagonists, if you will. I think it's a good snapshot, and like I said, I almost feel like they want this to be a gateway to One Piece, and I even wonder if some of the characters that they show that come in and show that they have, you know, history with Luffy or any of the Straw Hats, is to get you to then go and check out the wiki page or the fan page, and then go ahead and pick up the first chapter or start streaming it on Crunchyroll. Like that plug for you guys. Pay us. No, I'm joking. I think it's a good snapshot. What do you think? Am I
in
wrong
some ways
on that?
Yes, in some ways no, but I probably don't want to get into that until spoilers. But yeah, I mean, I think in some ways yes, in some ways no. All right, last question. Were you surprised how sci-fi-ish things were in One Piece? Because last when you read it, it was basically like yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, 1800s status or feeling.
So I always felt like it was kind of a in between World War I and II era, because there is some tech that you see, especially with like the Navy and stuff like that. But all of the towns, villages, a lot of the stuff on the boats feels very, you know, like you said, 19th century versus maybe first quarter of the 20th century. So that did throw me off a bit. I didn't know there was that much potential.
Concert
there.
Technology.
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it was enough to be like, what the hell is going? It was just kind of like, okay, so there's a little bit more than we thought.
Yeah, because I remember there's a certain point in the series where I'm like, oh, this is like where they had like basically full plasma screens going on in like town squares, and I'm just like, oh, like this is just this is like sci-fi now. Like it's fantasy, but it's basically like sci-fi almost, where they have technology and stuff. It's just weird.
Yeah. Alrighty then, guys. Well, we're gonna go ahead and close it out there. You guys can check out more here on the YouTube channel. If you're watching us, we've got Breaking Geek Radio, which Jammer's on. They cover everything in entertainment, geek, and pop culture. Usually have a movie or show review at the in the episode. Daily Cog does similar but shorter form, and well, Monday through Friday generally we have Anime-Versal Reviews, AVR Squared, which is our reactions. We're doing Spy Family, Chainsaw Man on AVR, and then those get reactions as well as Imminence and Shadow and Beast Tamer. And like I said, keep an eye out for Fate starting soon. Marvel Multiverse Mayhem, the Cantina, covering Marvel and Star Wars respectively. All of those that are not reactions go up wherever you get your podcast from, like Google and Spotify, Apple. Leave us some thumbs up, down, leave us some reviews. Let us know what we're doing well, let us know what we're doing wrong, and of course check out LRM online every day for all entertainment news, needs, opinions, and celebrity interviews, written reviews, and more. Jammer, you're not Brian's YouTube Pulp Mythos on but where can people find you at online?
You can find me on Twitter at Jam the Writer. You can also check out my latest book, City of Mages, at magiabooks.com. That's MAGIA books.com.
All right, guys. At that Kyle Malone on Twitter. Keep an eye out for more anime content right here on the GenreVerse. Talk to you next time. Bye.